This video continues our series where we sort of blend plastic surgery as well as some ideas that are outside the context of plastic surgery, but I believe are integral to understanding my practice and my business. I'm going to talk a little bit about two words, passion and compassion. And passion really derives from how much I love what I do. And this is sort of in line with the last video I shot. What Simon Sinek says is that when you come to work, it should not be work for you, but a real pleasure. And everything I do is a pleasure. I absolutely love what I do. Some examples to give you an idea is I had a consultation, I think I mentioned this before, where a gentleman came and he asked me why my hair restoration was better, and I went through each integral component of how I harvest the hair, how I close the donor site, how I made sites, etc. And after about 20 minutes of going through this in detail, I said it boils down to one word, which is passion, how much I love what I do. Absolutely love it. And an example is cooking. Amina cooks for us, and she cooks really out of love, and I think that's a big difference. If someone cooks mechanically, the food taste is not there. And it does make a big difference, because when I'm making sites, for example, for hair restoration, I'm putting fat into the under the eyes or other places, I'm constantly thinking, as if I were that patient, how much that person would enjoy what services I provided. So it's done out of love. And so passion is a huge component of what I do, and that drives me to the next point, which is compassion. Last year I did a series on the Dalai Lama's philosophy about life, and it's had a profound influence in the way that I look at the world. And he talks about the idea of compassion and what that means. It means that being a little bit sensitive, or being as sensitive as you can with the person in front of you. A lot of times we think compassion means pity. It means a position of ego. It means that if I have to take care of this person's problems in front of me, that I have to be weighed down by the burden of being with an individual in front of me who's suffering in life. And actually what the Dalai Lama says, that compassion is quite the opposite. It actually is uplifting for both parties, and I actually feel uplifted when I can share the burden of someone else. And as you know, that in plastic surgery, ostensibly it can be something cosmetic in nature, and obviously that needs to be the major goal. If that's not part of it, I can't accomplish what I want to do. But we talked about in the previous video of how much we're really enamored with helping people come through and change their lives. Compassion means, when I'm doing a Botox, I'm being very sensitive that I'm not hurting a person, and I'm very careful to make sure that I am in tune. In fact, believe it or not, I can actually feel when a patient could have felt something. And if I did 35 little micro injections, I feel the one that the patient felt. And that's not just some kind of crazy psychotic comment. The thing is that I'm very in tune to where my patient is during the treatment. And being in tune with the patient is very important. I did a video the other day where I talked about a patient that was just very, very nervous and doesn't feel quite right, and I just brought her into alignment with my emotions. The question, that where you can be in your life and where I'm trying to be is filling my glass of water. And what that means is that if I'm unsettled, if I'm angry, if I'm in a position where I'm really not caring about anything and angry at people, I can't fill your cup. And in turn, if your cup is empty, you can't turn around and fill someone else's. And so what I always say is that what I'm trying to do is fill my cup so that I can help you to the best of your ability, to the best of my abilities. And I think that what's so important is that when you're seeking a plastic surgeon, you're seeking a team, because honestly, I think my team is much more compassionate than many places. Darla, who works with me, just said that she went to a medical office recently, and it didn't have the same warmth and love that we have. So I truly believe that it's part of this entire building, it's part of my entire staff, it's part of my mission, and I just want you to be able to feel that energy from me. And there's a good question that I want to ask you, is that when someone leaves your presence after they've met with you, do they feel more anxious, alone, or do they feel more calm and peace after they've listened to talking to you? And I hope that with each person encounter, whether it be professional or personal, that someone leaving my presence feels more calm. An example is I had a young lady that had decided not to choose me as a surgeon, had gone elsewhere to do some eyelid work and some fat transfers, and came in actually in tears, very angry that she had chosen this other surgeon and had things that were not done the way that she would have hoped for, let's put it that way. And I could have entered that room with a position of ego and said, oh my goodness, why didn't you choose me? Look what you get, this is terrible. But I put myself in that person's shoes and wanted her to leave that room with a deeper sense of peace And I wanted to honor her presence and not to say, look, oh, you didn't choose me because of this, and therefore, what is the good out of that? So you fulfill your ego. Both of you leave drained because both of you worked from a position of ego. So instead I walked into the room thinking, how can I make sure that this woman, whether she does anything with me in the future, that should not be my motivation, is actually at a greater sense of peace when she leaves me. And that means I first have to put myself at ease and put myself at peace. If I'm not, if I'm agitated, it's in training someone else's energy. If she is nervous and I get nervous, we both collapse. But I brought her into an alignment. I talked to her about, you know, the 4 Agreements and The Power of Now, a couple of books that have made a major impact in my life. And I wanted her to really leave with some peace, and I think she did. In fact, she just emailed me this morning, and she's going to purchase the 2 books, so I'm very, very happy with that. So, you know, we talk about high and low energies, and the only way that I think we can really be able to bring other people into a compassionate sphere is to be able to start with the idea that if we can present high energy, and high energy is the opposite, actually, of a caffeinated, anxious state. It's actually calm and peace in the tone of your voice and the actions you deliver, and the way that you stand and work with other people. Because if each person's energy is calm and at peace, you'll be able to provide that to the person next to you. And I think that in our life, we always have to be able to give that. So I just wanted you to think about those 2 elements that are driving forces in why I get up in the morning every day when I come to work, which is passion and compassion. Thank you.